What would you tell people that want to get started in like farming or homesteading?
I'll say, go ahead. Don't.
This is the Farm Hop Life podcast. I'm Matt DeRozier. Today, my guest is BowTiedFarmer on Twitter. I have no intro for him, a real man of mystery. How you doing today?
Doing really well. How are you?
Good, thank you. So, I guess let's just start out. Why the anonymity? Anonymity.
So what it is it's a online community, really based on Twitter. We basically it's a group that follows an account called Bowtied Bull.
Okay.
He is he started this online, I guess you would say, writing, marketing, uh, following a long time ago called Wall Street Playboys.
Okay.
And he's kind of got a Wall Street background. Um, he talks about efficiency, how to get rich, a lot of e-commerce type lifestyle and tips and strategies. So I began following him and reading some of his stuff a couple years ago. He transitioned from Wall Street Playboys to Bowtied Bull about a year ago.
Hmm.
And I started reading that. He has a Substack and really enjoyed it. It's kind of crypto based. It's about kind of taking finances in your own hands and trying to get away from this banking system. And anyway, people started making their own bow tied accounts, and it just really took off. And so now, if you look on Twitter, there's all kinds of them. There's a bow tied ox. There's just, and they call it the jungle. And so there's all these animals and people, and it's all anonymous. And it's really cool. It's really fun. I like it because I can DM or email anybody in the jungle. I don't know who they are, but they could be a lawyer, they could have Wall Street background, they could
Sure.
be a farmer. It's amazing the network and the reach. If I'm trying to set up a website, I can reach out to this guy Possum, and he is a website guru. I mean, so it's really cool. And so I got into it. I decided I'd do farmer. I got a little bit
There
of
you
a
go.
farm background. I'm not like a real farmer. I'm more of a homesteader.
That's
And
fine.
so farmer was just kind of cool. It was short and sweet. And I started, I joined the group in May of 2021. So it's been a wild ride.
That's awesome. I I forgot to start off with something. So, in the spirit of your anonymity, I don't have a bow tie, but I do have this.
Cool.
So, I thought I'd rock it in style. I'm also anonymous today, so I should just delete
Yeah.
my name. Bow tied Matt, maybe.
There you go.
Yeah. So, so then you said you're not much of a farmer, more of a homesteader. So then, how did you get started homesteading?
Uh, so I'm on some land that's family land. I was coming up here all my life, riding four wheelers and playing in the woods. Later on in life, I moved up this way, actually, just through work, and I was renting. And finally, one day, I was like, "Man, I just need to move out on this land." And so I talked to my grandma, and she let me build a little house out here. And, it just kind of fit. I started gardening, as soon as I got out here, man, another thing is like my grandpa was a gardener. I was always outside doing stuff. I love the outdoors. And so when I moved out here, I kind of messed around with a small garden. And really COVID kind of clicked. Like, hey, I kind of want to start growing my own food and try to,
Sure, yeah.
see what I can do. And got bit by the bug. And I mean, I went crazy. I did a big garden and I love it now. Another thing is my wife is a huge animal lover. And so whenever we got out here, she wanted goats. And so I'm kind of like the laborer. I built some fences and got her some goats. And then we wanted chickens. So we got chickens and
goats for meat or goats for milk?
Well, they were just goats for fun starting out.
Oh, okay.
Right. We had we started out with some Nigerian dwarf goats, and they're really fun. I mean, I built all kind of stuff for them to climb on and jump around on, and it was really fun. And then she got into the La Manchas. So now we have 3 La Mancha goats, 2 does and a buck. And so this past 2 or 3 months ago, we got some more Nigerians, some registered little small Nigerians, a boy and a girl, so that we can get some babies from them too. So yeah, it was just getting animals, right? My wife loves animals, so we just started, acquiring more and more animals. Now I have 30 hens, 3 goats. I got a cow, and I got 3 dogs, 3 cats.
Nice. I'm assuming the cow's for milk then.
No, well, I say it's a cow. It's actually a bull. I bought him a year ago. I bought some beef from a guy that he'll get a steer and raise it and then finish it off. And I bought some meat from him. And I was like, man, I can do this. So I have about a half acre behind my house that is fenced in. So I got on Facebook and I found this guy. He actually just brought me the cow and everything. It was a baby. It was like a 6-month-old bull for $300, and he brought it to me. So
nice.
that was my first. Yeah, that was my first experience with cows or bulls or whatever you want to call it. So I don't know what I'm going to do with him yet. He was actually, I told the guy I wanted him to be banded. And he's like, yeah, I'll band them before I bring him. And I didn't know what I was doing, right? So he pulls up with the trailer and lets him out in my pasture. He wasn't banded. So I got a bull now. And I've read that you can still butcher them like when they're young. And it doesn't really mess with the meat too bad. I'm trying to get some more fences up, and I might just, if I get these fences up, I might just put him out in the front pasture and keep him. He's intact, and then I can just get some cows and breed him. So I don't know yet.
Still playing with it. What's the deciding factor, I guess, for you? Like, what do you kind of like? What's this? What's how would you make that decision?
Well, obviously, my wife definitely wants to just keep him, right? She does not want to eat him, but I'm looking at him like, so I guess right now he's in a smaller pen. I mean, he's got plenty of room, but I'm kind of wanting to get him out of there and clean that pasture up where he's at, and that's kind of where I need to put my goats now.
Okay.
So I need another place to put the big boy, so he can kind of get out of the way and have more room. So that's the only reason. And then plus, I'm kind of getting low on beef again. I got a half a cow about 6 or 7 months ago. So it will be time. I'm thinking by the end of the summer he'll be big enough and ready. So
Did
I
you
just
say
got to
what
decide.
kind? What kind of cow he
He's a
is?
Black Angus,
Black Angus. Okay.
and he's still not very big though. I mean, he's not like huge, so he's still got some growing to do. Hopefully, when the grass is turning green now, so hopefully he'll shoot up in the next 4 months. I'm thinking.
Did you say how much acreage you're on? Is it more than 5?
Yeah. Well, so it's family land. It's 200 acres.
Oh, wow.
But I'm on 3.
Okay.
Like I got deeded 3 from my
That's
grandma.
that's pretty sweet.
So yeah, it's awesome, man. I got plenty of room, really. I got 3 acres is enough to do a lot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I got this cow and all the goats in my garden. I got fruit trees and everything planted right on 3 acres, right? I mean, that's just barely enough to get all that on there. But obviously, later on, whenever people move on, there will be opportunities to get more of this land. I'm going to try to keep it all in the family. We'll see what happens. The future is unknown
Oh, yeah.
because you got to buy people out and everybody wants money. So we'll see what happens.
Are you I'm trying to figure out roughly where you are because you're so like intentionally elusive about it. I'm like, okay, are you east or west of the Mississippi? And then I'm going to leave it at that.
East.
East of the Mississippi. Okay. All right.
East
All
for
right. That's
sure.
good enough for me. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we
All
can
right.
talk. So we can talk later.
All right.
There's ways to break the anonymity once we. But I don't know though. I'm farmer, so
Yeah.
it's very strange. It's so the anonymity thing. The reason why the anonymity is with crypto. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but
I'm
there's
in it
there's
a
some
little bit.
security there's some security issues with it. There's not and I'm not saying me personally, but like let's say I was a rich guy with all this money and it's not in the bank anymore, right? It's not with
Right?
Wall Street in the stock market. It's like in it could possibly be in your house or it could be, you know, a lot more security to worry about. You don't really want everybody knowing who you are anymore. And
Sure.
plus, just the whole cancel culture nowadays. I tell you what, ever since I've started this account as a non, it's what I've always wanted because I would go on Facebook with, my normal account. You can't say what you want to say, because my mom's on it and my aunt.
Sure.
I
I
can't
get you.
post a picture of something. I can't say, hey, man, I love this rap song. I really love this rap song. Because they'll be
Yeah.
like, you're not supposed to be listening to rap music. And so it's really cool being anonymous. I still work trying to keep it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
It's
But I feel like we're moving towards an age to where privacy is going to be a luxury, you know?
yes, definitely.
So, I mean, I get it. I absolutely get it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but for like, if we want to get into it just like a little bit, like me personally, like people like to be able to see a face. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise it's just like working at an Amazon warehouse, right? Like you don't even know like who your coworkers are, who your managers are. I mean, you got like your manager is a robot or something. I don't know. So we
Yeah.
still we
So
can't lose that human touch.
it's really weird. Here we go again. Like there are
Yeah.
people that were in the community, the BowTied community, online, and they were anonymous. And then as soon as like some of them decided to like, go another way, and they just
Hmm.
switch their account and put their face on their profile. As soon as somebody does that, it's weird. Like as soon as you see somebody's face, everything changes. It's totally, I can't explain it to you. But
Yeah.
like as soon as you see my face, everything, like even hearing my voice tonight, now you know a little bit more about me, right?
I don't
Before
know,
you
but
heard
I
my
mean, yeah, but
voice,
like voices
you
don't
didn't
match
know.
faces very well.
Yeah, but like I can just, okay, so there's people in the community that like I interact with. Like we all know each
Mm-hmm.
other, right? There's this guy
Mm-hmm.
Bernard. Anyway, he goes on Spaces and I hear his voice, right? And there's another guy, I don't know. It just gives you another detail about that person that you didn't. It's kind of like reading a book, right? Whenever you read a
Sure.
book, it's really cool. You read Willy Wonka the Chocolate Factory, and then you watch the movie, and it's not the same. It's totally different, right?
Right.
Your
Yeah,
imagination
I can
kind of
understand that.
makes that anonymous account seem cooler than it is or worse than it is. I don't know. It's just interesting. It's
Yeah,
kind of like an experiment for me.
that's true. That I mean, there is something to it. So I think you get to kind of say what you want to say, and um, I don't know, just don't have to worry so
Yeah.
much about the backlash. And like, man, am I going to get like with my name, right there being in the lower left corner, like it's going to be pretty easy to find me and ruin my freaking life if I say something that pisses somebody off or whatever. So
Yeah, and I mean,
there's
I'm still not going to do that. I would never say anything wrong, but people can misconstrue what you say and take it out of
absolutely,
context. And that's another thing. Like whenever I was on Twitter before, I always wanted to be anonymous. Really, I would get nervous that somebody would see my name and like try to come find me. That probably would never happen. But I just kind of, I don't know. Twitter's kind of crazy, right?
yes,
It's
it
one thing
is.
to be on Facebook. Um, Facebook's a lot different than Twitter. Twitter is like you can get in a lot of trouble. Like if you get a rage mob after you,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. It's just crazy. There's a lot of wild,
yes,
crazy people
there
on
is.
Twitter. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean?
You crazy bow tied community people.
Anyway.
So you
Yeah, and the bow tie community is cool because like you got a lot of help. We stick together, and we all are. It's really cool because it's a very positive place, right? So there's a lot of, especially starting out back in over the summer. I mean, it was just so much fun. I was sharing pictures of my farm stuff, my chickens, and everything I'm doing, and everybody just loved it, man. People would like my stuff, Before, people, you would post stuff on Twitter and it'd get like no likes,
yeah.
nobody. It's like a void
Mm-hmm.
because it's so hard to get traction on Twitter, right? It's almost
Absolutely.
impossible. So it was like a jumping off pad, a launch pad, because we could all like each other's stuff, and then it started growing outwards. And so that was another cool aspect of it.
Yeah. Um, so you said you had a garden with your grandma, did you say? When you like kind of so how'd you get started growing food? I mean,
Well, growing up, my grandpa, he always had a big garden. And like I would be out there helping him. I wasn't like you know spending all day out there. And I was kind of young too. He got older. I was the baby, so I was probably 6, 7, 8, 9, that age. So I still didn't really know what was going on with the garden. I was just out there playing in it and helping. And so he developed Alzheimer's and passed away. I wish he was still around. So much knowledge. But anyway, he kind of planted that seed in me, and I had a little background. I love being outside. And so we moved out here. We had a little bit of land, right? And I'm like, well, I'll plant a little garden. So I just kind of messed around with it. Didn't really know exactly what I was doing. And then finally I was like, I'm going to just do this all the way. So now I have a tiller that goes on the back of my little tractor. And that was a game changer. I know a lot of people don't like tilling up the land, but I'm telling you, if you got one, you don't have to mess with that little tiller, the hand tiller. You can really get it right. So
Yeah.
once I got that, it made it a lot easier. And I'm still learning, man. I've only been doing the big garden for 2 years now, but I really enjoy it. We really do enjoy it.
I'm enjoying this this Substack you're putting out. I'm still being cheap,
That's
but
fine.
man, just just the free stuff that you're putting out is pretty cool. And we can get
Appreciate
into
that.
that. We can get into that at the end, but yes. So you said Mark. Let's see. Sorry, I was trying to remember when COVID kicked off. That was kind of like your real big motivator to grow more of your own food, have a bigger garden, take on some animals. Was there something before that, or was that really like the
No, well, I guess maybe, I guess that's just kind of when I guess you would say red pilled. I was always kind of conservative, but COVID kind of opened my eyes to see that everything wasn't the way I thought it was. I really can't trust everybody like I thought I could. And so I can't trust everything to go the way it's supposed to,
yeah
And so then I was like, I can't remember exactly. I think I just wanted to do the garden because it just seemed like the right thing to do. So I went up, I found a tiller, and I drove a couple hours to go get it, and I started making a bigger garden because that was always the thing that would hold me back. Was I wanted a bigger garden, but I don't feel like running this little hand tiller, all the way
no
around. It's just a lot more work, right?
yeah absolutely
And I had a disc that went on the back of my tractor, but the disc just never really got it right. So I got a tiller, and then the next thing is the rows. The rows, you got to have something to draw some rows. And I got one of those. And so now I'm in business, right? I can make a garden as long as I wanted to now. But and I really want to make a bigger one. But you got to have some flat land and you got to have plenty of room. So I made a bigger one last year, but it was a little bit too far away from the house. I got deer. Deer are really bad around here, so they'll start tearing everything up if
sounds like
it's
a
too far
good
away
problem
from
to
the
have.
house. Yeah, they're bad. I don't like them. I really don't like deer because they just eat all my stuff. They're just
But I
little.
mean, like you can
Yeah, it's good to have them.
yeah, I mean, it's an easy way to stock the freezer if they're just walking right into your property.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm just saying, people think like, oh, it's a beautiful deer. They're just so gorgeous, and they're just so calm and peaceful. But really, they're kind of assholes.
They can
But
be.
I no,
Yeah,
I love them. They are
absolutely.
beautiful animals. I'm just joking around.
I mean, but
You,
also they can be assholes for sure.
yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
didn't want you to eat those sunflowers. There's weren't for you.
Oh man, yeah. I was just fixing to say that. I planted a huge swash of of sunflowers, and we were gonna, it was for pictures and for the birds and just kind of to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And man, they were doing so good. And then one day, man, those deer they came through and ate every head off of just about every one of them.
Yep.
Couldn't
Same
believe it.
here. Same here.
So then last year I made one and I put a fence around it, just a
Hmm.
temporary fencing, and I put it a little closer to the house, and it just didn't do good. I don't know if it was
No?
just a bad spot or what. Maybe I planted too many. They were just piled in, and they just didn't grow that big. I don't know why.
Dang.
That's another thing, man. I love learning. It's like an experiment, I just keep.
Yeah.
It's a learning experience. There's no right answer to gardening. There's no right answer to any of it. You just do what works for you. All right. I love that. It's fun.
So what's working for you? Like, so, are you like, do you practice permaculture or like have guilds or, I guess I think you've got raised beds. Is that right?
I tried some raised beds last year. My wife wants them real bad, but I learned a lot from that. I just put some, and the post that I did today, there was
Yeah.
a post on raised beds today that actually explained everything. The secret to a raised bed is you have to bring in your own good soil. What I did is I took some compost and some dirt, like just kind of scooped up out of my garden area,
Yes.
and it just had so many seeds in it.
Oh
Like it
no.
was just a raised bed with like tons of just weeds. And so in the garden, you can just I can run that tiller. See, I leave a long row, a wide row, so I can run the tiller tractor in between each row and clean it up, clean all those weeds. Because I get a ton of weeds in my garden. There's just no way to stop them.
Hmm.
But if you get weeds up in your raised bed, they're really hard to deal with. So what you got to
Huh.
do is you got to bring in some special soil that has been treated properly and doesn't have seeds in it. You either got to buy some or have it hauled in or make your own or something. But you don't want to just use any type of soil that you find in your raised beds. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does make sense.
Okay.
I mean, I did a post today about how my compost is going, hauling the deep litter out of my chicken coop, and like all that organic matter getting broken down, and I put that. I empty out the chicken coop once a year about this time, so by the time we can start planting, it's ready. It's like it's that all that nitrogen's not going to burn the plants anymore. And so, I mean, my plants did awesome last year. We did raised beds last year, and we're gonna reuse them this year, obviously, and just throw on more fresh compost, and hopefully they'll
Yeah,
take
so
off again.
that's what I was trying to say in that post today is like the only benefit I see to raised beds, there's like three maybe. The first one is you can put one anywhere. Like if
Sure.
you wanted to put one on a driveway or on a back porch or on your deck, you could just put one there. That's cool. The second thing is no weeds. You bring in this special soil or you bring in some organic soil or something that's been, you can cook the seeds. I think you can put it in your oven. I read that it stinks really bad if you do that. But anyway, you want to treat it to where there's no seeds in it, because that's the only reason that you want a raised bed is to not have to deal with the weeds. And then the third thing is you can make one that's a little bit higher to where you don't have to
Yeah.
bend over, and you can kind of sit on the side and hang out. Those are the three. Those are the three advantages. I can't really think of anything other than that.
I I've got 24-inch raised beds. I didn't want to bend over.
Yeah.
I
Nice.
like we got crap soil here in Montana. At
Yeah.
least where
Yeah.
I'm at, it's very rocky. The Rockies, it's
Okay.
weird. Um, and the other thing is, so we also did square foot gardening inside the raised bed, and so everything was planted very dense. And if something, it was just easier to manage that way. So we had a absolute mess of tomatoes. Like we had to peel the branches apart in order to harvest the tomatoes every couple days. It was crazy how just matted together everything was.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I
That
don't know.
happened in mine too.
Yeah. Oh, and the other
The
thing,
tomatoes, man, tomatoes are a pain in the ass, to be honest. Like they're really needy.
yeah,
Uh,
I don't even eat them. My wife eats them. And sometimes whatever's left over, we make salsa. But I just don't like the taste of just plain tomatoes. I don't know. I just not my thing.
I'm not a big tomato fan. My babies eat them though. The cherry tomatoes. My kids, it's weird, man. My kids love tomatoes. They'll just eat
Yep.
a tomato.
Yeah.
So
Kids are
it's good to
weird.
have them for them, and then my wife can cook with them. So,
The other thing
but
weird
yeah,
about the race bet is that I built this kind of cage over it that kind of flips up like a DeLorean to keep the
huh?
deer. I'll send you a picture or I'll post it on
Uh,
Twitter or something like that tomorrow.
I
It
think I know what you're saying now.
the top. So I used fencing over the top. It's like it's barn shaped, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and so the sides swing up like a DeLorean so we can get in it. And I did that to keep the deer out, because just regular having a normal garden and fencing is expensive, and this was like my $50 solution to that, I guess. I don't know. So
yeah.
there's a couple reasons why I went with raised beds, but
Man, it's crazy how much everything costs. I mean, people don't realize that. Like, just
yeah,
trying to put a fence around my garden, is very expensive.
$2,500 depending
Well,
on
there's
the
no way.
material.
So the way I've done it, I got all these T posts. I got old T posts
Okay.
everywhere from pulling them out of the ground from old fences. So I got plenty of posts, and I go to Tractor Supply and buy this plastic net. It's about 6 feet tall or 5 feet tall,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes on a roll, maybe 100 feet,
Mm-hmm.
and that is still like $60, $70. So I got to get 3 or 4 of those and go around the whole thing.
Jeez.
But and it's plastic, right? It's not really nice. One day I'm gonna build something nice, like a real, maybe a wood fence. That would be cool. But it's just more work. And then another thing is for me, whenever I bring that tractor in to till it up, I gotta I either have to leave a plenty of space, so that makes the fence even bigger around it, or I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's why I like that plastic fencing. I can just pull it open and
Right.
bring my tractor in. So there's no easy answers.
So, um, what have you tried that's worked well?
Well, for me, a fence is very important. It's very,
Because of
very,
the
very
deer.
important. Okay. So for me, the what I do, I have a Great Pyrenees dog
Mm.
that stays outside, and she will not run off. Thank God. And she runs around all night long barking. I mean, all night long. So she keeps the deer out of my garden right behind my house. She
Mm-hmm.
can't keep them all away from all my trees all over the property, because there'll be some deer over here and she'll run over there, and then there's some more deer over there, I guess. But the deer are getting into my trees. But anyway, she keeps them out of the garden. So I don't really have to worry too much about that. But still, during the season, it's good to have a fence around. It keeps the chickens out. It keeps the kids out. It keeps people. If you don't have a fence around your garden, people are just going to walk right through it to get to wherever they're going. It's just a fact of life. Even me, I'll do it. I'll like
Oh,
if
I
I'm
see
trying to
what you
walk
mean.
back to my
I
to the back of
gotcha.
my property, I'm not going to walk around. I'm going to walk right over my garden, and eventually that's going to start messing stuff up.
Sure.
So a fence is very important. Um, and like I've covered a lot of this in my Substack, but what I do nowadays is I have a few plants that we like. It's green beans because you can get a ton of them, and I put them right in the ground, and they come up. You don't have to propagate the seeds and do all this crazy stuff. So green beans, cream peas. It's kind of like a black-eyed pea.
Okay.
Get a ton of those. It grows so good and easy. Um, those are like my main staples because we can put them up, we can eat them, they taste good. So I got like 5 or 6 plants that do really good, and they grow easy throughout the summer, like okra. But I don't know, okra isn't that great. It's all right. But those
It's
green
all
beans
right.
and the peas, you can eat on that pretty much all year. So
Yeah.
anyway, what I do is just till up that ground. I've been adding chicken and compost, and I've been adding leaves, just kind of adding organic matter over the past month or two, whatever I can get and scrape up, and just dumping it in there. And I'm going to let it sit for another couple weeks, and then I'm just about to till it all up and go again. One other
Nice.
thing that I do is I go, and I don't know if this helps, but it kind of makes sense to me. I go to Tractor Supply and get some of that organic alfalfa pellets.
Okay.
You know what that is? It's like
Yep.
feed for horses. I'll get like
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 bags of that and sprinkle that all out into my garden area. And it gets wet and it expands, and it basically puts a little bit of nitrogen in the ground. And I till that
That
up in there too.
that's crazy. I've never heard of that. Just dry, or do you soak it?
Just dry, and let the rain will come, and it'll. I kind of don't want it to break down until it gets tilled down into the ground, and then
Sure.
the rain
Okay.
will kind of break it up. But yeah, so let's see. A year ago, last year, I got a soil test, and everything looked good except the nitrogen. So I was like, I don't want to add
Okay.
anything. I don't want to add anything but nitrogen. So
Sure. Yep.
there aren't too many things that you can add that's just nitrogen. It's like blood meal. Like, where the hell are you going to get that? And I need a lot of it. So I kept reading and reading and reading, and finally I saw somebody say that alfalfa, and it made sense because it's just like green grass basically. So I do
That's pretty
that,
cool.
and I
That's a
plant
cool
a little
trick.
clover. I planted a little clover in between the rows. So what I do is I draw a row right on the very edge of my garden,
Okay.
first row. Then I skip a whole tractor space, a whole tractor wide, and do another row. So that way, throughout the season, those weeds will start growing pretty high. And I come through with that tiller and just till everything up. And it just kind of cleans it up. I can run the tiller pretty close to my row and get a lot of those weeds. I still can't, obviously I can't get all the weeds that are in the row by the plants, but I can at least kind of clean up my garden a little bit. It leaves me some
Right.
room. And so what I did last year is I planted some clover in those big wide rows, and then came and tilled that up down into it. So that added a little bit more nitrogen. Well, I'm just kind of experimenting, just kind of trying to
Yeah.
figure it all out.
Be like, oh wow, that works. So then, are you gonna get another soil test after doing the alfalfa pellets,
Uh, I probably ought to do one. Yeah, I haven't done
just to
one since.
verify, like, okay, that worked?
Yeah, I probably should. That's a good idea. Um, but all my plants, the plants did work. Like everything grew
Yeah.
pretty good. So
So
that was kind of
what didn't work then?
what didn't work.
Yeah, like what you tried, you're like, wow, that was an utter failure.
That damn raised bed that I talked about in my Substack today, that was terrible because it was just so much weeds. It was
Okay.
crazy. I don't know what the hell happened. And also I was being cheap and I built the bed out of a log. I had
Okay.
4 pieces of heavy log that I pulled over there
Yeah,
and
it
stacked
looks
them
beefy. Yeah.
in a square. And then I filled it all with dirt and it looked great. But then all these weeds started coming up and cucumbers, and I didn't even plant cucumbers in there. And, tomato
Cucumber.
plants everywhere, tomato
The
plants.
invasive
And so,
cucumber.
so everybody reading that was probably like, why didn't you just pull them up? Whatever you didn't want. Well, I didn't want to do that at first. At first I was like, man, this is kind of cool. I got cucumbers. I got tomatoes everywhere. I was like, well, let's see what happens. Well, next thing you know, it was wild. It was like a jungle. I mean, it was
Mm.
just plants everywhere. So I cleaned it up and it worked, but it just kind of didn't go the way I wanted it to. So I got rid of those raised beds. Let's see, what else didn't work? Last year, I got some tomatoes from this place called So True Seed. That's
Hmm.
kind of where I get that's where I have been getting my seeds. And I got it was like a big slicing tomato variety. There's millions of them.
Oh yeah.
And I
The big
planted some of
beef.
those. And for some reason, I planted them all the way down in the corner of my garden on the far end. And they never did really do very good. I mean, it took them forever. And then by the time they actually turned red, it was just kind of so late in the season and hot. So I don't know if that was the brand or if it was the location because it was far, far away. So like I put all my compost pile on one side of the garden. And so that compost kind of washes down the hill, like the
Okay.
nutrients a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that the tomatoes were on that far side and it was just kind of bad soil over there. It just didn't have as much good stuff down there, maybe. I don't know.
That's possible. Yeah. Um, so what are you trying? Are you trying anything new? 2022? You got some goals for this year?
Well, this year, um, let's see, what am I going to try different? I'm thinking about doing. I told you I had that second little area where I put all those sunflowers.
Yes.
I think this year I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna fence that little area in, and I'm gonna do sweet potatoes. I'm gonna do like a bunch of sweet potatoes in there, and just let them go crazy. Because I don't know if you've ever done sweet potatoes, but it's like a
No.
vine. It's like a vine, and they go nuts. So I'm gonna try that, and then I'm gonna do what I always do: just plant my stuff, plant my green beans and my peas. Um, I'm going to. The other thing is, I'm going to try to get this fence going. I built about 2,000 feet of fence last summer, and now I need to come back and close all that in. It's probably another 2,000 feet.
Holy smokes.
So once I get that done, I'll have a nice. It's like 11 acres that I can just throw a cow in or throw goats in. Once I get that done, I can just like if I see somebody that's selling a cow, just grab it, just get it, If I see
Yeah,
somebody selling a goat for $100, just grab it. Right. Right now, I'm looking at it like, yeah, I want that goat, but I mean, they're kind of piled in right now. I don't really need any more right now.
sure.
So that's kind of my main goal.
What about your bees?
Oh, yeah, bees. So I got 4 hives last year. We did about 30 gallons. And it's just not really enough to sell, right? Because you
Okay.
sell, 30 gallons sounds like a lot, but I need to save a pretty good bit for me to last all year.
Right.
So anyway, we're doubling the operation. That's what I'm going to try to do this year. I got 4 more hives set up, so then we'll have a total of 8. I got my bees coming in next week, I think, and so everything's set up and ready for them. But it's not going to be like immediate double the honey output. It's going to take a little while for them to draw up the honeycombs and build up.
Right.
They got to build up their own honey first, and then they start building honey for me. So it
Right.
takes a little
Yeah.
while. So I'm thinking in a year or two, I should be up to 60 gallons, maybe.
That'd be pretty sweet.
It would be, and so my goal is to try to double every year.
That's pretty
And
ambitious.
around here, my wife, she got into the bees too. She found this guy. He's an old man. He's probably 70. And he taught her how to do everything, right? He was her mentor.
That's great.
And yeah, he really did help us out a lot and got us going. And but anyway, I guess what I'm saying is the bee community is aging around here.
Yeah.
They're getting old, and it could be a big opportunity for me if I want to pursue it. I just got to think about it, right? It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's not easy. You got to be out there in the hot sun, and you got to be sweating, messing with all these little these little insects crawling all over you, right?
Yeah.
It is. It's not really my type of work. I like the hard work about it. Like, I wish my wife could just handle everything, and I just do the heavy labor, right? I just pick up the boxes and move
Tell me
everything.
where
I
you want
like
this
that.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
But, we got kids, and so it's hard to get everything done.
Absolutely. Do you guys, last thing about your bees, do you guys have bear problem where you're at?
No, 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 no.
Oh, okay.
No bears.
Okay. That's good.
No. Yeah, whenever we first got them, I was thinking that the raccoons would be a problem. We got raccoons everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
thousands of them. So I set some traps out there by the honeybees, and they never did. But and our mentor, he's like, don't even worry about it. So, because it seems like a raccoon would be able to knock that thing over if they really
Yeah, you'd
wanted
think
to.
so. Yeah, when something's hungry, they're gonna go after it hard. So
I don't know why they don't, but they don't. They told me not to worry about it. So, but yeah, thankfully, no, we don't have any bears. I would
that's
hate
good.
that. I would hate that. That's
Just in
another
general
thing
or
to
just
deal
for your
with.
bees?
It's just another thing to deal with.
That's true. But hey, keep the deer away, right? Also,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
So, what's been the biggest challenge in homesteading that you faced then? Is it the deer? Is that the hardest?
No. No, man. Let's see. I don't know, man. I guess those fences are kind of hard, man. Building fences. Uh,
Just the
just
time
having,
and the money?
yeah, time, money. Just trying to make sure it all works good, right? Like, I get
Right.
stressed out trying to make sure, especially the fence up by the road.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to look good. I don't want
Yeah.
to build some fence that's going to fall down in a year.
Yeah.
So I put a lot
I
of
hate
stress
redoing
into
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
But it came out really nice. It came out really nice. I guess for me, is just getting everything done. Over the summer, the grass grows. You got weed eating to do. And I mean, half of it is just maintaining your property.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much a lot of it is just mowing fences. I got an aunt and she wants the trails mowed with the tractor, right? So, and she wanted a bridge built over the creek. So it's just always kind of something else going on, pulling you
Yeah.
away. And then the kids, and there's always something going on that we got to go do or whatever. It's just hard to juggle everything. But luckily I got a wife, man, and she kind of runs things. She kind of feeds everybody every morning. I have automatic waterers, so at least I know that they got water, right?
Yeah.
And once I get that front pasture in, they'll have plenty of grass. You won't even have to worry about that. So, I guess just time. Time's the hardest thing because I got a day job too. I go to work every day too. So,
Do you mind sharing what it is that you do?
I'm just a supervisor at a plant.
Okay. Okay.
We got welders and painters and assemblers, and I'm kind of the supervisor. I keep track of their time and try to keep them busy. And I purchase all the parts. So I'm in supply chain. I'm a supply chain guy. That's basically what my background.
You've had a hell of a job then the last 2 years.
Yeah. It hasn't really, it wasn't that bad until like the past 6 months for me.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Because we are able to get parts from a lot of different places. It's not like a very special part. I mean, we do have special parts that do have to come from a certain place, but we've been able to kind of adapt. But recently, it's getting bad with our main parts that are very specific, and so there's nowhere else to get them, right? So that's kind of coming to a head right now. But yeah, it's not too bad. Just gotta stay on top of it.
What would you tell people that want to get started in like farming or homesteading?
I'll say go ahead. Don't
I
do
like
it now.
Go ahead.
I mean, for me, I wish I would have done it earlier. You're always gonna wish you would have started something sooner.
Right.
The main thing I would say is like try to make sure that your wife is on board with it. Because if she doesn't want to do it, then
that's true.
You probably shouldn't do it.
You're doing all the work. Like you're gonna get no support. It's really got to be a joint effort for sure.
Yeah, well, and she's gonna hate it.
That's true.
If your wife doesn't want to be out in the woods, then you're not going to be a homesteader. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
you're
not
spending all your time with that dumb garden.
Yeah. Well, she's going to want to go out and go out to eat. So at least find a place that is kind of close to the city. Don't kill yourself and go buy something way out in the middle of nowhere.
Alaskan bush people. Yeah.
Luckily, we're kind of close to a city, so I don't know how people do it that are way out. I mean, I don't want to be in the city, but I don't want to be like 2 hours to get something to eat, right?
Right.
Like, and we don't eat out very much. Let me get you confused, but it is nice to get out and take a break and go get something to eat, right?
Dude, I'm with you.
It's nice to go out.
going out to eat has gone expensive and crap quality. So like it's like not even worth half the time it's not even worth going unless you're willing to drop like $45 a person, you know what I mean? Like we went up out with some friends just a couple days ago or whatever, and I bought just a crap load of barbecue just for myself, and I stretched out into a couple meals with leftovers and whatnot. But and my wife got a pizza, and so like it's just it's too expensive to go out anymore, and you're just like, oh, this tastes like crap anyways. I'm gonna stay home.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. But see, for me, we don't drink, I don't have any other engagements, right? I don't have anything. I
Right?
don't go play golf. So for me,
You
the
sound
only
more like
thing
a
I can
hockey
really
guy,
do,
anyways.
huh?
You sound more like a hockey guy, anyways.
No, man, no way.
Frolf?
Uh, what'd you say? Golf?
Frolf. Frisbee golf.
Oh, yeah. I do like frisbee golf. I haven't played
Well, there
that
you
in
go.
years. I used to always get high and lose my frisbee.
I knew you were growing something other than whatever tomatoes and cucumbers on your property. I knew it.
No. This is
That's why you're anonymous. Now we're
long,
getting
long,
good
long.
answers. This is
Right.
perfect.
I'm smarter than I look.
Grow some poppies. I'm smarter than I look.
But so what's your background, man? What made you decide to do all this?
That's enough about me. We're talking about you. No.
Okay.
No, we can get into it in just a little bit. I got two more questions for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Is that okay? So, what does the future of farming look like to you?
The future of farming is breaking this cycle of going to the grocery store to get everything. Costco needs to go. I mean, I'm kind of getting sick of everybody just relying on somebody else to farm their stuff, right? We got to get out of that mindset. I'm not saying that everybody has to do what I do, but everybody can like go to the farmer's market and find somebody that kind of lives close to them that does it, right? And you don't have to buy everything, but maybe find somebody close to you that grows something, carrots, salad mix, something. And you start kind of networking with people around you so that you're a little bit more self-reliant. I want people to quit buying everything from China. China is like, I love China, like the people of China. I think they're a lot like us, They're just trying to work and provide for their families. And they're dealing with a crazy government, just like us. But as far as China in general, like the actual government, and I don't like them. I don't like what they're doing to our country. And it's not just them. A lot of our politicians are allowing it. And so I just see a huge mess in our country. And I'm not just talking about like Republican and Democrat. I'm talking about in general. They're both bad. They're both allowing it. They're both paid off, and it goes top down. The corporations are just killing us. You can't trust any of the food that you eat. You can't trust any of the products you buy. I mean, it's just gotten totally crazy. And so my thing is the future of farming is we kind of learn where the eggs come from. We learn that eggs really aren't white. They aren't all white.
Right.
The milk doesn't have to be pasteurized. It doesn't necessarily have to be pasteurized. Why can't I sell raw milk to another human? Why can't I? Let's start asking these questions, and let's start pushing back on these local governments and say, and also let's try to get involved in our local community and not worry so much about what's going on in Washington, because I really don't care what's going on in Washington anymore. There's nothing I can do about it.
There you
But
go.
all I can do is like get to know my neighbor, make sure that, you know, if some shit happened, I might be able to make it for a couple weeks, you know.
Yeah.
When everybody's going to the grocery store, I'm going the other way. I'm going farther out into the sticks to see
Sure.
my
Yeah.
neighbor. And so that's what I'm trying to get my people on the Twitter, my followers, to
Mm-hmm.
think like whenever it happens, whenever something bad happens, Costco is going to have a line out the door all the way out to the end of the parking lot. I mean, of people trying to get in there and buy something,
Yeah.
buy eggs or whatever. You know, you don't have to be that person. You can go if you go now and start building relationships at the farmer's market once every other Saturday, and you meet somebody that you kind of connect with a little bit, and you start talking to them, and then you can say, all right, do you know anybody that has milk around here?
Mm-hmm.
And they say, yeah, my cousin has 2 milk cows. And say, well, can you bring me 2 gallons of milk every other week whenever I come to the farmer's market to buy my eggs from you? And he'd say, yeah. And so then you got eggs and milk straight from the source. And so then you don't have to worry about Costco shutting down or whatever, you know. And so that's what it's all about for me. That's what I'm trying to get people to realize and understand.
Dude, I love that. It's the decentralization of food. Like that's
Yeah.
what we need. Like this whole trucking it in from here, there, and everywhere. You know, your food's probably more than 500 miles from wherever it was grown, usually. So, like, if you can go across the street or the other side of town and you have 75% of what you typically eat, like, that's perfect.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what kept me from getting all the way into it like I am
Mm-hmm.
now. I used to keep a small garden just to playing around. And I used to think, man, all this work when I can just go to the grocery store and get, you know, 6 tomatoes for $1, it doesn't make sense. Well, it's not necessarily about that. That's what I've learned. It's about now I know what where that tomato came from, because you can't trust anything anymore, right?
Mm-mm.
The organic thing is just a label. Uh, and so just imagine like what is going into the dirt where, I mean, if you start thinking about it, it's kind of crazy. And then also think about what those chickens are having to deal with. I mean, they're in the worst environment
Oh, yeah,
that
it's
you
so
would
gross.
ever imagine. The pigs. I'm not a huge like PETA guy, PETA, whatever.
Yeah,
But like I do have a soul and I don't like abusing animals. Like
exactly.
they deserve better. And so you're just feeding that machine. And so if you can break any of it, if you can break it just by growing your own tomatoes, that's saving a little bit, right? And now everything costs a lot more, so it's kind of coming back around in my favor. It's making me look a little better now. Now I
Yeah, you're
can
not so
sell my
crazy.
Substack and say, hey guys, you know, I might not be looking so stupid after all, right? In a couple of years.
Yeah, I don't think you'll have to wait that long. Give it like 6 to 12 months, and you're gonna be like king or something.
We'll see. I mean, and I'm not about doing the Substack. I'm not really trying to make money off of that. I'm just the reason why I went paid is just to kind of see. I'm just learning, really. I'm just learning. You
Tinkering,
know,
sure. Yeah.
it's another. The Substack is it's kind of it's kind of stressful, man, because it's another thing that you have to do, right?
Yeah.
And whenever I went paid, that kind of sealed the deal. Like I can't just not, when it was free, it was like, I'll just take off for a couple of weeks.
Right. Right. Now
But
you're holding
anyway,
yourself accountable. Yeah.
yeah,
That makes sense. So we in explaining your BowTiedFarmer from like BowTied Bull, you kind of touched on crypto at the beginning there. How does crypto
yeah.
play a role in individual sovereignty?
Uh, okay, it's the same thing as the food industry. You got all these
Mm-hmm.
corporations
Mm-hmm.
that are just basically screwing us. There's no other way to put it. And there's nothing wrong with the banks and the stock market and all that. I get it, man. But if you think about it, and also crypto has its problems too. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's scam after scam after scam. There's horrible people involved in it. I mean, it's nothing rosy, but it's an alternative to the current system to
Mm-hmm.
where I can keep, or someone could keep their own funds in their own possession. Just like gold, right? You can take
Mm-hmm.
gold and put it in a safe and nobody really knows about it. That's kind of what it is, dumbed down a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You really, you can, with crypto, you can actually, they do know where it is. It's actually pretty transparent. Every
Yeah.
transaction is permanent.
Yeah. That's kind of the point, is that it's a public ledger. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but one day it will be the system. Yeah, I don't know how it's all going to work out, and I don't have any predictions, but I know trucking paper dollars across the city and paying a guard to watch it and put it in this big safe and guard it. That ain't the answer. That's very expensive.
No.
Uh, so if it's just digits on a screen, it's just so much more efficient that
Right.
there's no way you can not go crypto eventually. It
Right.
might be a government dollar crypto. And that's what they want to
It's
do eventually.
it's coming
That shit's that
very
scares
soon.
me bad. The CDBC,
Yeah. Yeah.
that is scary
Yeah, it
because
is.
that's where they want us. Whenever that happens, they got us right where they want us. Right, then it's like it's cancel culture is it's cancel culture on steroids then, because then they
Oh
can
yeah.
just zap all your money out, just
Yeah.
turn
I
it off.
mean, we're like looking at Canada right now. I mean, that's going to be like child's play compared to what's coming.
Mm.
Like, you, I mean, and Visa and Mastercard turning off transactions in Russia or whatever, so people can't pay for this or that over in Russia right now, and blah blah blah. Like that's nothing compared to what we're gonna experience here very very soon.
Yeah, it's going to be where if you don't do this, then we'll just take all your money. And also, it's like they give you money and you have to spend it by this date. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
think
you can't
about
just
how
save
bad
money. You can't.
inflation is right now. Like, you spend the money, it's going to be worth less tomorrow, and the next day,
Well,
and the next
no, I'm
day,
saying
and
like
the next day.
I'm saying these governments, if it's a digital currency, they'll give it to you. Like, let's say your company has to give you everybody pays you in this digital dollar,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's all connected to the central government. They know.
Mm-hmm.
And so each company has to ask them for the money to give to you, and then they can put a timer on it and say, if you don't
Because it's
spend all this
programmable, sure.
money, it's just crazy. I mean, so
That is pretty
Whenever that
crazy.
happens, I think another thing is whenever that happens, I think they're going to just wipe out the debt and just start over. So who knows what will happen then? It's just, I just worry about it for my kids. That's the only, I mean, for me, I'm like, let's go ahead and do it now. Let's get this over with. Let's see what's going to happen. But then I got kids, so I'm like, maybe, I don't know what to do.
It's
All I can
ugly
do is
anyway you cut it.
Yeah, so that's another thing I wanted to say. Back then, I was like, well, it doesn't really make sense to do all this just for a few tomatoes. But now what I'm doing is, okay, so I got 30 hens, right? I got about 10 eggs a day. I got these 2 goats, dairy goats, so I'm getting about a gallon a day in milk. And then I got the cow. I can butcher him in a couple months, and then I'll get another cow. So I think that's pretty cool, right? Just being able to, I'm never going to be able to like not go to the store. I'm still going to have to go to the store, right? I'm never going to be completely self-sufficient. But I think it's kind of cool, having some eggs around, having some milk around, having some meat in the cooler, and then growing some lettuce to have a salad. It's perfect. I think it's the way God wanted us to do it.
I think so. Dude, you talk about why, like, buying tomatoes versus growing tomatoes. What did it for me was the first time I did the egg crack test of a store-bought egg in the frying pan right next to a homegrown egg. Sealed the deal for me. That store-bought egg, even though it was brown, that yolk was so like pale yellow and gross. When mine, the one that I like grew here, was just like a nice rich orange color. Then just like you'd never want to eat a store-bought egg ever again. Like,
yeah,
gross, disgusting. Throw it in the trash.
I know. Well, what's up with that? And they wash them. Oh my God. Have you seen how they make sugar?
No, I haven't.
I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Like, no wonder everybody's like, the sugar's causing diabetes. The sugar's causing diabetes. I'm like, I don't know. I think it might be all the chemicals you're putting in the damn sugar. I mean, what? Go on YouTube and watch it.
Okay.
How to make sugar. I mean, they cook it and they boil it and they add all these chemicals and then
So
they
it's
boil
ultra
it
processed. Okay. I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
It's gross. So that's everything. That's the seed oils. That's what we're getting. So
yeah.
And the eggs, I think they wash those. There's no telling what they wash it in. It's just gross.
Chlorine, I guess. I don't know.
Probably some chemical.
Yeah. Well, hey man, we've been at it for a little while. Is there anything that you wanted to touch on that we didn't already talk about?
Oh man, I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here. So we talked about your Substack a couple times. You can go to BowTiedFarmer.com. Right? Is that the one? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
BowTiedFarmer.com. And there's a link to his Substack and his farm store. So he's got some vegetable, 15 variety seeds there. He's got an herb garden lot, honey for sale, lots of good stuff. Just check him out.
Yep.
And of course, follow him on Twitter, BowTiedFarmer, or at BowTiedFarmer. So
yeah, man.